Welcome to the Slade Ham Experiment, the 100th episode of this show. That's a lot of things. Might be the second longest running podcast in all of Houston comedy behind the Whiskey Brothers, which I'm pulling in to what I'm calling an elegant dismount tomorrow. I'm also going to talk about taking some of the pressure off of this show. If you're here, welcome. If you're new, double welcome. If you're old, triple welcome. You're an OG and I appreciate you. The best thing you can do to keep in touch and up to speed with what I'm doing, and that includes a lot of things, like my new book. I'm going to be taking some beta readers from my audience. If you're interested in some shows I have coming up, specifically some meet and greets and some merch giveaways and some things like that. And just all of my schedule and shows and things and projects in general, plus some pithy stuff that I've thought through the week and some of the coolest things that I find throughout the week. You can get that twice a month in your inbox. It's super simple. Just go to sladeham.com. The sign-up form should pop up immediately. There's also a link there to go watch my special. So catch it. Did my eyebrows just do a thing? Did I raised them like I was trying to sell something to you? I'm not. Do that. Also, though, let me say this. If you're on Reddit, the best thing you can do, and this isn't just me, this is just if you're a fan of someone, musician, an artist, a painter, a writer, a comedian, drop something they made on Reddit in the appropriate subreddit and share it. We don't do that often enough. We're very quick to go out and scream and yell about the stuff we hate. Rarely do we go say, hey, this thing was amazing. Speaking of amazing, how do you think I felt about the new Deadpool versus Wolverine movie? Well, it was everything I wanted it to be and then like 7 other things. You should do yourself that favor. Go, that was a nice welcome departure from everything Marvel has crammed down our face for I don't know how long. That was to be the next movie after The Marvels, which was arguably the worst thing that's ever happened in Marvel cinema. To turn and do an about face like this, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. It just shows what happens when you put good artists in a project they care about and let them shine without handcuffs. Chef kiss. What else? I got shows August 20th, 21st, 22nd, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas. That's the big information. All those tickets are for sale at sladeham.com. All right. Where are we this week? In the 100th episode. You'd think there would be some big to-do, fireworks in the air, explosions or whatnot. There's not. I've been through a lot of landmark episodes. I remember when I invented podcasting in 2011, it was just me and Rogan. Speaking of Rogan, I'm not getting sidetracked, but I'm getting sidetracked. Someone go back and find the episode where I talk about Cortez in 1519 and when he burned the ships. I did a whole thing on it. It's I know I did a newsletter on it. If you follow that, you can for sure go back and read that one from 2018 or repost it again in 21. But the bigger point, I lost a whole show title. Joe Rogan's new special that just came out on Netflix is called Burn the Boats. One of the working show titles for my new show is literally Burn the Ships. The Cortez metaphor has been, I've told people this in the past, that if I was ever going to get a tattoo, it would be flaming ships on my forearm, because that metaphor is just so appropriate to how I've lived my life and made so many of my decisions. And when someone like Joe names a special that I haven't seen it, I don't watch any modern comedy right now, but I'm sure that it's a reference to how he's either lived his career or something. For me, it was a reference to how to get out of crazy relationships. But this is what you guys don't understand about stand-up comedy, how frequently stuff like this comes up. And I struggle with, I've been taught, me and my friend Paul Oda were talking earlier today. He was in town. We were at an event. We were talking about how these childhood memories or trauma. Trauma is a strong word because it's not always trauma. But events affect the way we feel about art now. The way, something he was reflecting on something that a family member had said and how it just kind of hangs with you and makes you think about your own art in certain ways. But for me, it's always been an originality issue in that stand-up is, when I got into it, I was inundated with people talking about how original you have to be, and you do. And I've told the story before about the one time I actively did someone else's material, not someone else's, but was doing take-home jokes and just anything I could to burn time to bury this comic, like I was in my first year, whatever. So I live with the originality complex haunting me constantly. I check every joke I write. I Google premises to see if I can find someone else who's done it. I look for YouTube titles in that vein. That's why I don't watch comedy right now, because I just use it. I watch it when I'm checking something. So I'm not plagued by it, but it really, 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 really is important to me that I'm doing stuff that is mine and I wrote, and that you don't get into the Carlos Mencia, Bill Cosby argument or Dane Cook and CK. Sometimes there's overlap, but I want to be able to say confidently in those overlaps, look, I did my homework. I found nothing. This is the joke I wrote. This is why I did it, right? But I wonder, where does the line of originality stop? Because we know there's nothing new. Of course there's nothing new. But you tell yourself, you look at all of the boundaries that you press up against, all of the borders, the walls, the things that stop us from doing the stuff that we think we might be able to do, right? I use fiction as one of those tests for me. I talk about writing it all the time. I have worlds that live in my head. I have characters and you name it. It's all up here. Stories and plots and all of it. Not even in the same world. Many different things. Shorts and short stories and short films and this stuff rattles around in my head constantly. And I don't ever really, no, it's not that original. Maybe something like that's been done. By the time I do it, somebody else will have done it. Then I look at the trillions of dollars Disney's raking in. By doing what? Rewriting fairy tales? You ain't even write the Ice Queen or whatever turned into Frozen. You damn sure didn't write Pocahontas. Mulan's an old folk tale. What about The Little Mermaid? That's Hans Christian Andersen. Beauty and the Beast? How many versions of that were done before Disney? Aladdin? You gonna tell me you invented the Middle East? What about The Lion King? That's Hamlet. How many different ideas you gonna repurpose? Now, all of these things are masterfully retold. But when it comes to source material, why do I, not with comedy. I'm still always gonna be that dude. But why do I talk myself out of so many different endeavors because I don't think it's gonna be original or different or whatever enough? How much else has been repurposed? It wasn't just The Lion King that was Hamlet. That's been done to death. That was all of Sons of Anarchy, wasn't it? How much Jane Austen has been turned into film, from Bridget Jones' Diary to Clueless. Was that Emma? The other one was Pride and Prejudice. Everything's been redone. Even Game of Thrones. Know this or not. As sprawling as it is, and you go, how can anybody keep up with all these houses and people and characters and lands and territories and kingdoms? And it's just War of the Roses. You could just overlay it. He's just rewriting War of the Roses with cooler shields and dragons. We care about the story, but we care about the plot less than we care about the characters. And that's just something I'm toying with, right? How to create these characters in these worlds and play with some of these ideas and get myself out of this concept of, I can't do it because it's not original enough. I don't know why I'm talking about all that. I went off on a spiral. I just know I make things more complicated than they should be almost constantly. even with stand-up, the thing I'm best at, you ought to see my outline before a new hour at the Improv. It is a sloppy 13-page outline of more stuff than should be. The whole thing should be about 2 pages, realistically. That's what I find when I take a whole show like I've been writing, and then I go out to Canada and I just run it over and over and over. And then you figure out, you're like, oh, that's just, there's 30 minutes right there. It's not 42 pages of notes. It's just like 10 ideas. That's what I'm trying to get myself to just winnow down that process. Because I'm always, it's a stand-up doesn't have, this is what's interesting about stand-up. There's no rules to it. There's no governing body. There's nobody to even go thumbs up or thumbs down, really, even anymore, like there used to be when there were club managers or club owners or bookers who were in the back of the room. So I've just spent 2 decades or so just working. And you don't know how far away. It's like being in a dark, like in a pool, but in a blackout. Pitch black. So you push off the wall. Well, I jumped. But after a certain amount of time, you have no idea how far away from the wall you are, the one you left. You also have no idea how far away from the wall you're supposedly going to. Art is a weird bunch of dark water sometimes. So you try to find, man, there must be a way out of here, right? Like you're trapped in an IKEA. Maybe there's some arrows on the floor or something. Nothing. People are walking around. You go, they must know where they're going. They're not. 2 of them are employees. One of them's looking for the bathroom. The other's looking for their mom. No one knows what's going on in the IKEA. You're just wandering around trying to figure out the best way through. And we always, I have spent so much of this career looking for shortcuts, poking at walls. Does this one give way? Because there's a door you're trying to get through. And up that door, up those stairs and through that door, there's, I won't call it success. I got plenty of successful. But there's what you really want, right? Like the lowest viable amount of money to live on, where you just, if I just had that, I could just keep making the stuff I'm making and I'm good. But that door's locked, one, and nobody tells you how it opens. Most people don't tell you because they think only one person can get through the door at a time, and if you get through, then somehow they're not going to be able to get through the door because they're weird like that. But it's, when I get to obstacles like that, the way I think, default mode, which is wrong, is to start looking, I believe there must be a trick to opening the door. And they go, nah, there's a key store over there, and if you just go on down to the key store, they'll teach you to make keys, and then you'll make a key, then you'll come back and opens the door. Yeah, no, that'll take a month or a year. I don't know how long that'll take. Certainly, if I just keep poking at stuff and stay away from the key store, then I'll get through on my own. Relax. Door's still locked. That's the truth about most art, is that we want through the door. And we don't want to stop and take the time to learn to make the key that gets us through the door, or the variety of keys, the whole key ring of tools that open that door. That's all it really is, right? You want to learn to paint? Learn to paint. You want to learn to do stand-up? Don't just get on stage and tell everybody you're a comic because you open-mic'd. I was talking to these kids. I went out to the Secret Group Friday night club here in Houston to do a set. I always talk to the young comics when I go. I just sit up on the roof, talk comedy, talk shop, hang out for an hour or two. And it's astounding how many young comics think stand-up comedy is clips. They want to do comedy so they can, and I can't even argue with that. Maybe it is what stand-up comedy is now. But I don't think of it in terms of that. So when they ask me for advice or they say, what should I do? I only know how to tell them how how I do what I do. Not even for them to do what I do. How I do what I do. And that's a different, it involves joke writing. Hey, how much time are you spending on this joke? And they go, what do you mean? I just go up and I do it this way, and maybe it'll be different one day. That's your hope? You just hoping? Like, so much of this is work that, and I feel crazy because I do that work, and other people don't, and still find audiences. And so now I'm saying all of this to say some things. I've gotten 100 episodes into this show. I do it every week. I've taken very few weeks off. It's been very good at keeping me accountable and productive in thinking through ideas. But I want to take the pressure of having to do it every week off. The reason it's called The Experiment is because I want it as a place initially to work out the ideas for a new special. I've done that through a whole show. I've also talked through an enormous amount of stuff that's going to make it into this new book. By the way, 52,000 words into the new book. I'll write 90. I'll edit it down to 65, maybe 70. But it's flowing. It's coming. This has been like you ever like siphon gas, and and then it starts to come right before it touches your tongue, and then the gas comes out. That's where we're at. This podcast has been a wonderful suction device for gasoline. I'm a terrible metaphorist. So I'm going to take the pressure of doing this every week off. I'll still be here. I'll still do the show. I still got stuff to do. But I want to repurpose some of my energy into not just the art, because I've got the time to write and I've got the time to do all the stuff I'm doing. But to focus on the packaging. To realize that maybe all my bitching and moaning, which is absolutely founded, I'm not wrong, about modern communication and entertainment and technology. I'm defiantly right about all these things. However, it doesn't mean I shouldn't be focusing on the delivery mechanism for the stuff I'm making, because I'm acting like, if I'm being perfectly goddamn honest with myself, I'm acting like I'm in some new situation where I can't believe this is what's happening to art and this is what you got to do to art. You used to have to go to LA and blow producers and do all kinds of things that I never had to deal with. You used to have to find A&R guys and hope they showed up in the crowd. You used to have to hand draw your own flyers and put them out there. I was making videotapes and sending them out to clubs for I don't know how long, worried about the packaging, focused on how it was formatted, focused on the labels that were on it, putting together. I got work in Shreveport, Louisiana. Rachel Bradley, Christopher Titus's wife, will tell you long before she was married to him, long before she and I were dear friends, I sent a package. She booked me based on my package, all based on how I sold myself. And it was, in a way, selling myself. And I know that's what rankles me. I know that's where I rub raw. That all of my experiences with salespeople through my entire life have been heinous. That when you spend your 20s owning a comedy club and your partner is a salesperson. And I watched over the course of those 5 years, and then the however many previous radio year or years before that with him, when we did the morning show, we made a ton of money. Crazy money. But God, I watched him lie to people left and right. Like, whatever it took to get the sale, because that was the metric for success. Not are these people happy, not is this a good deal for everybody, but did I win? Very Machiavellian. So now, when I find myself up against what is basically the question of how do you best lie to an audience in order to get them to click on the stuff you're doing, it's a tough swallow. Because I will overthink everything. You ask me to pick a title or a thumbnail, And they go, we'll call it comedian destroys heckler. And you go, did I really destroy them? No, they left. I feel like that's misleading. If I say destroy, that guy should be exploded across the room. If you didn't explode him across the room and body parts go, then you didn't really destroy that heckler. You just made him feel bad. I want to be honest with people. A comedian moderately insults a heckler until they get frustrated and leave because they got deeper issues in their life. That's too wordy, they say. So I can't put that on there. I don't want to tell people that I'm doing things I'm not. I don't want to mislead and hope you see this. You won't believe what this guy did next. I don't want you to click because you're curious about the stupid next word. I want you to click because, hey, I make cool shit. So I'm gonna have to absorb and acknowledge and deal with that reality. And I'm trying to find the way to couch it to myself to make it fun. Because it really is much simpler than I'm making it. Like every 100,000 page outline I do for 60 minutes of comedy. That number gets larger every time I say it. Every 1,000,000 pages I write of an outline. Everything in my head much more complicated than it should be. And this is one I should reduce down to its simplest form. I should find the way to beat it, and I should use it to perpetuate everything else I'm trying to do because, damn it, this new book is good. It's memoir and stories from the road, but it's all about stand-up comedy, and it's all about adventures, and it's all about how to get from here to there, and it's fun. I'm in the darker parts right now, so now I gotta make all those funny, and then I get to write the fun stuff. What else in this 100th episode do I want to say? What a fascinating place to be in my career. This is a final thought. We're in weird times, and we all know that. The election coming up is who knows. The economy is who knows. The geopolitical situation is who knows. I don't know who's at war with who. I could tell you a week or two ago because eventually it finds you. But who knows? The whole world. None of it. Who knows? What words will be off limits tomorrow? What travesty will have happened? What the Olympic Committee will have done? What these musicians might have said? What these authors might have done? What 20-year-old tragedy has been unearthed? This is unending. And if you stay in it every day, and you're just doom scrolling every day, and you can't stop with the what's next. I've said this before. It's a very specific emotion you should be looking for when you're scrolling. And when you can't answer why, when your finger does an automatic, when you find yourself picking up the phone, swiping, thumbprinting, or face unlocking, or drawing your code, or punching in your 4 digits, whatever it is you're doing that automatically unlocks. One, make it as difficult as possible. You should have to make a whole Korean word with your password to open it. Our phones should be way harder to open than they are. But you look at when you scroll and you go, why did I just? When your hands are making those automatic movements and your eyes are just flicking back and forth like you're a zombie, that's when you got to ask you, what am I doing? Why? A little less input maybe. Because this is from, if you haven't read it, Nassim Taleb's Anti-Fragile. He also wrote Black Swan, which totally different book. Anti-Fragile. This is from that, and it comes to my attention because it exemplifies why I called the special what I did, Signal Noise, from the book. The more frequently you look at data, the more noise you are disproportionately likely to get, rather than the valuable part, called the signal. Hence, the higher signal-to-noise ratio. And there is a confusion which is not psychological at all, but inherent in the data itself. Say you look at information on a yearly basis for stock prices or the fertilizer sales of your father-in-law's factory or inflation numbers in Vladivostok. Assume further that For what you are observing at a yearly frequency, the ratio of signal to noise is about 1-to-1. Half noise, half signal. This means that about half the changes are real improvements or degradations. The other half come from randomness. This ratio is what you get from yearly observations. This is where it gets interesting. But if you look at the very same data on a daily basis, the composition would change to 95% noise, 5% signal. And if you observe data on an hourly basis, as people immersed in the news and market price variations do, the split becomes 99.5% noise to 0.5% signal. That is 200 times more noise than signal, which is why anyone who listens to the news, except when very, very significant events take place, is one step below sucker. It's a good read. Nassim Taleb's Anti-Fragile. Don't turn on anything you don't have to. Trust that the important things will find you. Close your circle down to the least noisy people you can. Surround yourself with good folks after the same things you are. Good people with the same values. We're all focused on 6 or 7 things in this world. I'm looking for the people that don't have current politics and modern cultural zeitgeist warfare or emotional hemophilia or any of the things that other people just free bleeding their emotions all over you. Those aren't my people. You're my people. If you're my people, go join the newsletter. Click subscribe. Stick around. Leave a comment. Let me know what you do want from this channel or my page or from me. I'm often interested. And also hello to a great many of you that I haven't mentioned by name. So many. But my friend Realist in Ottawa, thank you for the hang. I didn't mention you in the Canadian episode this past week. But you exemplify what I want my audience to be. Intelligent, discerning people looking for a better way through whatever this is we're all experiencing. It is 100 episodes of the Slade Ham experiment behind us from my midnight spaceship. I bid you all adieu, and I will see you very, very soon on another episode.